Half of the people in our society live to age 84, and half live beyond 84. So as a young person, let's say it's unlikely that you're going to die prematurely. So you can benefit from the use of these statistics of millions of people, and insurance companies are excellent at this, to accurately charge the right amount of premium to make sure that in the case of premature death, the benefit will be paid. Also, thankfully, there are lots of different types of policies that can range from the very sophisticated and expensive to the simple and inexpensive. So depending on your needs and your budget and your age, there's probably a policy that can cover you at an affordable price. So therefore, there is no good reason not to have life insurance to protect against this risk. I'm talking about the kinds of personal risks that surround us every day, risks that we can do something about, risks that we have control over to a large degree, unlike risks that we don't. The next risk that you have some control over is the risk to your health. Staying healthy to a large degree is within our personal control. I think you would all agree with that. Of course, not everything can be controlled, but as we get smarter about what hurts us, we can take appropriate action. Now, I'm in the role of a financial advisor, so I'm going to concentrate solely on finances. And again, insurance is important here. So think of it this way. Insurance always comes into play when, as I said before, one person can take advantage of the average experience of millions of people. This is called pooling of risk, and it's the foundation of good risk control in our society. And getting health insurance, then, is another key to controlling an unexpected adverse health event. Today's healthcare costs are staggering. You only have to walk into the hospital for something like a broken arm, and you'll receive a bill in the thousands of dollars. Now, this cost can wipe out a decade of diligent savings in the blink of an eye. So you must seek out some type of health insurance. You can do this through a group plan if you're working, if they offer one, or a personal policy. These are not cheap, I know, but shopping around to get at the very least, try to get a major medical plan where the big costs can be covered. That can be a huge help. That can protect you to a huge degree. Also, there may be a public plan for you like Medicare or Medicaid or the Children's Health Insurance Program, but of course there are eligibility requirements for those. If you lose your job, you can continue your plan under COBRA for 18 months, and that is expensive, but it can give you time to find another policy. And also, young adults can be carried under their parents' policy now to age 25. Now, I'm not going to pretend there's an easy solution here, but the cost of doing nothing can be far more damaging than the cost of getting insurance. Finally, I really can't ignore this completely because I'm an investment guy and that's what I love to talk about. If you put money away in a long-term investment plan like an IRA or a 401k, or you've saved a good amount of money and some of it is invested for higher returns, consider a few of these things to control your risk. First, make sure the money is invested for the long term and it's not going to be used for any short or intermediate term need. Not for a college bill that's coming up in a few years, not for money put aside for a down payment on a home, not next year's vacation. This has got to be money invested alongside of you for your lifetime. There's a book about Warren Buffett called Snowball, and that's the metaphor used here. He's built this snowball that tracks his life, and he never really dips into it and just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And that's what I'm talking about here when you're making long-term investments. Think of it as a snowball that you're building that is alongside of you for your lifetime. It stays invested and reaps the rewards of gradual growth. The second thing is don't speculate. Leave that for professionals. Even professionals can lose a considerable amount of money, so stay away from that game. No options, no margins, no futures, no what I call if-then-that investments. And I coined this last week, actually. And what I mean is, if this happens, then that happens. If this happens, interest rates go down, then that happens, your money goes up. None of that stuff. Number 3, diversify. Buy stocks, large, medium, small, international, domestic. Buy bonds with short maturities, intermediate maturities, long-term maturities. Use index mutual funds or ETFs to even get further diversification. Or buy an actively managed fund and get a good manager to buy and sell for you. And then the fourth one here that you can't control is dollar cost average, especially in bear markets. When you least feel like it, that's the time for you to double down. When you're most worried about things going down and down, that's the time to buy more shares. So if you dollar cost average in bad markets, I think you will find that a bad market turns out to be your friend, not your enemy. And it gives you the chance to buy low and sell high, probably the hardest thing for any investor to do. So these are a few ways to lessen the risk of surviving in today's uncertain world. It doesn't take a PhD to get this stuff right. It only takes a bit of the right kind of knowledge, a level head, and the courage to act upon it. Hi, this is Steve Pomerantz, host of On the Money. Do you have someone with whom you can have an honest conversation about money? Someone who will present the facts as they are with solutions that serve only your needs tailored to you? You listen to On the Money because you know we state the facts with no hidden agenda and no bias. You may also know that I hold free educational workshops to share my knowledge and experience with you. In this next workshop, I'll be discussing the roadmap to retirement. For instance, what are the most pertinent questions you should be asking yourself as you navigate these critical years of retirement? And how are your thoughts and feelings going to impact your financial decision making? I'll also cover the smart way to invest for more income. And I'll talk about the design or how the design of your portfolio fits into the whole picture. So join me as I discuss the roadmap to retirement and reserve your seat today for my free workshop, Tuesday, June 16th at the Boca Raton Renaissance from 7 to 8 p.m. Call 1-866-MONEY-01. That's 1-866-MONEY-01. Or sign up on our Facebook page at facebook.com/onthemoneyradio. That's facebook.com/onthemoneyradio and click sign up right next to the like button. I just want to remind you that any interviewee's appearance on the Money does not represent any endorsement or confer any opinion whatsoever, either positive or negative, by On the Money or any media by which On the Money is distributed. For more great personal, financial, and investment topics, hear me daily, Monday through Friday morning, 6:30 to 7, with encore plays Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8:30 here on WSBR 740 AM. Thank you so much for joining us.
Investing and decisions concerning money and personal finance are important decisions. Listeners are advised to research and discuss financial decisions with a tax, legal, or financial advisor. On the Money Radio makes no claims, warranties, guarantees of any information discussed on this program. The advisor's inclusion as one of Worth's top 100 wealth advisors may not reflect any one client's experience. Inclusion on this list may not be indicative of the investment advisor's future performance. More information can be obtained online at the program's official radio website at onthemoneyradio.org or by calling the toll-free consumer line at 1-866-MONEY-01.
Talk 1470 WWNN Pompano Beach, Boca Raton, Miami, Fort Lauderdale. AM 1470 WNN. Listen live at wwnnradio.com and like us on Facebook. Search AM 1470 WWNN.
Hi, this is Lanny Gelfand, president of Pioneer Roofing. When your roofing starts leaking, there's no time to waste. Call Pioneer Roofing. We'll get there with haste. Pioneer Roofing since 1975. Your friends in high places. Call at 954-920-7688.
Talk health. Talk wealth. Talk politics. Talk 1470 WNN.
The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
Do you have enough light in your life? Are you soaring in the joy around you? Are you stuck and unable to make life happen? Stay tuned for the Rabbi Jenny Show, where you will learn how to bask in the light and find more joy and meaning in life. Call to talk to Rabbi Jenny at 888-565-1470 and email questions and comments at rabbijenny.com. And now, if you're ready, stay tuned for the Rabbi who will light your world on fire, Rabbi Jenny.
Hey everyone, it's Rabbi Jenny. Happy Wednesday. I am so thrilled to be with you today. It's just been a really long 7 days. I can't believe it's been 7 days since I've talked to you. The topic today is releasing, letting go, and dying to be reborn. Letting go of our limited thinking in order to enter into an unlimited universe of possibilities. So much of our life is spent wasting time and energy on old ideas and old thoughts that don't catapult us to the level that we've had intended on going to. And my inspiration for today's show comes from two things. One of them comes from when I was a little girl. And this may be strange to some of you, but when I was a little girl and I heard in the Torah that Moses died right before he went to Zion, it really, really made me angry. I didn't understand why God would let Moses die right before his work was done. Like, what's that about? Like, right before this guy, I mean, he's freed everybody, he's let everybody go, and right before he gets to that next level, he actually dies, and someone new takes over. And as I've aged, I've thought about this over and over again, and because I am so sure of the loving nature of the divine and how much love there is out for you and for me and for everyone in this universe, I was really questioning this story until I learned about the code, until I learned about the difference between Moses and Joshua and why the energy of Moses couldn't possibly transform the people to a state of peace and abundance, because that energy was really, really attached to those people in order to free them. And the energy to free yourself is not the energy you need to catapult into outer space. Those are two different energies. And, you know, I'm kind of a NASA freak. I'm kind of a space freak. Maybe the only person who would know that is my 12-year-old. But we like outer space. I'm a big outer space. And I consider all of you out there my little love cosmonauts, because we are going to really talk about space. We're going to talk about what it takes to rocket into space and how using the analogy and the imagery of an actual rocket ship and how it gets out of the earth, gets out of the earth's atmosphere and actually gets into space is an image that we can all take in order to get out past those boundaries, past those limitations, past those things. I mean, maybe you've been shooting off forever and ever. You've been working hard and you kind of keep banging against the same ceiling, and you know there's something more. You know there's something else out there for you. There's a barrier there in between you and what you want. And maybe you're just holding on to something. And maybe that is energy. And maybe that is an engine that is no longer necessary. You know, they say that we need to lighten up. And so we're going to use the image of a rocket ship today in order to help you lighten your load, in order you can go past the Earth's atmosphere and go into the stars. Because it takes a lot less energy, my friends, once you're up there. It takes a different kind of refined energy, a refined energy of focus and love. So I'm going to tell you about rocket ships because I was so excited to tell you about this. I mean, I don't know, I was up late, I was singing to you, I was thinking about how much I love you and how excited I am to tell you how much God loves you. And I was reading about the Saturn V rocket. And I slept under this rocket up at Kennedy Space Center with my son and his class. And we did that a couple years ago, and it was awesome. And this thing is huge. And what's funny is, like, when a rocket shoots off, it goes through these stages, much like our stages in life. And I want to tell you about them because, you know, I can. And it's the Rabbi Jenny Show. And, you know, I'll sing to you later. But now I'm going to teach you about rockets. And I want you to take the brilliance of these stages and incorporate them into your life, because I believe that you're in one of these stages. I believe that there's a reason why you're listening, and there is something that is ready to happen. There's movement that's ready to happen in your life. So the Saturn V rocket was the rocket that got up to the moon. And was in this moon mission. But what they figured out at NASA was that a rocket needed to take off in stages, and it needed certain amounts of energy to get high up, and then it needed certain amounts of energy to keep going, and then it needed certain amounts of energy to finally get out into the Earth's orbit and safely round the Earth over and over again until they could go over to the moon and hang out there and put the flag and wave at us and say one, giant step or whatever they said. I know it was a big deal. So please don't be offended that I don't know that. Okay, so in the first stage, this is really exciting. In the first stage, a rocket actually carries 203,400 gallons of kerosene fuel, which is actually 318,000 liquid liters of liquid oxygen. And that's what's needed to produce this liftoff that we all see on TV, or if we're lucky enough in Florida to watch it live, it's like boom, and it's 7.5 million pounds of thrust. So much like Israelites trying to be free, anytime we initially do anything in our life, it takes that big thrust. Sometimes that thrust is rage. Sometimes that thrust is anger. Sometimes it's justice that motivates you right in the beginning, but it's a thrust and it takes you in there, right? But at an altitude of 42 miles, those engines just shut down, man. There's no use for those anymore. The bolts fire from the side of that rocket. Those engines are severed and they fall right into the ocean. And somehow, personally, emotions have to shift and you have to change because you want to go higher, my friends, like that rocket. You don't want to stop before you hit space. So in the second stage, there's actually 260,000 gallons of liquid something. I don't know why I don't have liquid hydrogen, and 80,000 gallons of liquid oxygen. And then this is a short stage, because a few seconds after this second stage, they actually ignite 5 new rockets and keep pushing. Like they're pushing up here, okay? But then something weird happens. They have to start letting go of things. And it's all timed very carefully in order to get this rocket into outer space. And they let go of the emergency rocket that they might have needed about 3 or 4 miles below. I mean, it's got to be timed perfect. And then they let that go into the ocean because it's too heavy. And it's this perfect balance of power and liftoff, okay? And then 9 minutes and 9 seconds after the launch, boom, this engine is no good. It is too powerful. Whatever emotions came after the anger, the rage, the justice that motivated you to take this path in your life, the second phase, whatever that was, which was your passion for your drive or whatever it was, it's got to go, man. It's got to go into the ocean. So this part of the rocket gets discarded and it goes. And then the third stage is fired. And in the third stage, there's 66,000 gallons of liquid hydrogen and 19,000 gallons of liquid oxygen. And at 11 minutes and 39 seconds, the rocket engine gives you sufficient speed enough to reach out into orbit. And they're shut off, and it's peace, and it's quiet. And you're out in space, and the view is different. And you can see the stars, and you can now achieve things that you can never achieve before. But you've had to let go. You've had to consistently let go of all the things that you thought gave you power, of all your false ideas, of all your old ideas. This idea, my little astronauts of love and light, of letting go, is consistent in all cultures. This idea that we die to be reborn is consistent in every faith. What we need to do to grow is we need to shed. We as human beings shed our entire skin over a year, every year, just like the snakes. We're constantly shedding. And I think that, and then in the Christian faith, we have the image of the resurrection, and in the Hindu faith, we have the image of Kali, and the phoenix in the native faiths, the Quetzalcoatl, and the thunderbird, and the idea of being born from the flames. These are the things we have to look at in our life. Where are we limiting ourselves? Where are we placing too much energy in our life that we can't shoot out into orbit? Where are we afraid to let it die? Where are we afraid to let it die? I was thinking about nature, and when I was thinking about this idea, and I was thinking about release and what it takes, and how I started on this show is so interesting. I started on this show because I started to think about sex, believe it or not. And I started to think about, this is Rabbi Jenny show, and I'm talking about sex, but it's true. Like, sex is a real battlefield, it's a real battlefield for birth. and there is a release. There is a battle that goes on. And I was in class this weekend with some of my sacred sisters, and we were talking about death and sex and all sorts of cool stuff. And I was thinking about how this battle that goes on in Scripture is all about that. Like the Pharaoh and Moses, they're going through this battle. They're going through this battle until this release of all the little Israelites happens, and there's this new whole culture is born. But why are we afraid to let go of the things that we need in order for this birth? What is it that they give us? Do they give us comfort? Do they give us a feeling of power? Do they give us a feeling of safety? And one of the things that I came up with in my own death, in my own life, was the death of silence as a woman. And my guest today is promoting an event, and so she'll probably identify with this, but I saw in my own journey as I was going through this topic that I needed to let my own silence die, my own ideas about being quiet. They may have taken me so far in my journey, but it's now time for them to go. And I used to use my voice in ways like the engines, the early engines, where I used my voice to attack or use my voice to get power. But now it was more about refining the silence to the truth and to how much love there is. And that when the message is clear, when the message is pure and comes from a state of compassion and joy and empowerment, there's no need for that big fiery engine to take you out into space, So I was thinking about this idea of release and birth and why we have to die. And because in nature, fruit, I know I'm all over the place here. Usually in my sermons or whatever you call these first segments, I am. But usually in nature, things die before they spread. Kind of like the seeds spread, And I was thinking like a fruit that actually falls off the tree is dead. It's essentially not attached to life at all. But it actually spreads its nourishment by feeding the person who eats it. But inside the fruit is actually seeds to create a whole group of trees. So it's the death of the fruit that causes, oh my gosh, all these other things. So our instinct might be that this thing we're letting go of, it will kill us. It's something that we can't live without. Maybe you can't live without your fear. Maybe you think your fear keeps you safe. Maybe you think playing small makes you safe. Maybe people pleasing. This is something we could do a whole show on. The idea that pleasing other people is actually firing an engine that is getting you on the course of their life and not your life. Your rocket ship is never going to get to the outer space destination that you want to go to, pleasing people. So that idea that you learned as a little child that's important to make everybody happy must die. It must fall off into the emotion. You must cry and realize how many times you pleased everyone but yourself, and you must rocket into space and find your own freedom. It's really important, listeners, that you understand how much is waiting for you out in your life. And my excitement for you in sharing with you today is that you somehow find something going on in your life that you can release now, that you can let go, that you can finally, after a long, long time, realize you've just been hanging out in the clouds and you can't see correctly because it's blurry up there in the clouds. It only gets clear when you shoot on out into space and you're looking back down on Earth until you realize the greatness of it all, the abundance of your life. And you essentially die to be reborn. This is Rabbi Jenny. I adore you. Please join me. Come right back in a few seconds. Bye-bye. Spent hours in therapy, at the spa and the gym, and still feel as if something is missing? At Walk Between the Worlds with shamanic practitioner Jennifer Sellers, you recapture lost pieces of yourself, place them within your heart, and move forward to fully actualize life. With individual sessions and group classes, with Walk Between the Worlds, you heal your mind, unite your soul, and empower your spirit. Contact walkbetweentheworlds.com today. Mention this ad on The Rabbi Jenny Show and receive 10% off your first session. Walk free and whole and true at walkbetweentheworlds.com. Hey, it's Rabbi Jenny asking you, are you ready? Life can bring many challenges, and sometimes we need help finding the answers to increase our awareness and take it to the next level. So are you ready? Come join me every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. on WWNN 1470 AM, where you can hear and see me bring spirit, light, and love into your life. Are you ready? It's time to change your life, take it to the next level, and embrace the greatness that is you. Are you ready? The time is now. Wednesday, 5 to 6 p.m. on WWNN 1470. So let's get ready. Do you know someone who is currently struggling with an addiction? The struggle is over. Dream Recovery International has the answer. With a combination of highly skilled clinicians, innovative treatment modalities, and luxurious amenities, Dream Recovery International has it all. Focusing on core issues, spiritual growth, and personal empowerment, clients of Dream Recovery International leave addiction behind and move forward to fully embrace life. For more information, go to dreamrecoveryintl.com or call 855-DREAM-80. Dream Recovery International, where addiction ends and recovery begins.
You have been listening to Rabbi Jenny, who asks, are you ready to bring more light and love and joy into your life? A spiritually uplifting show that will change your world. Call in at 888-565-1470 or email at rabbijenny.com and share your thoughts with Rabbi Jenny. Now, back to our show.
Hey, my little love astronauts. What am I calling you? Astronauts, cosmonauts, Strasvice, как ты называешься? Was that what they call them? Cosmonauts in Russian? Cosmonauts. Yes, cosmonauts. Oh, yes. And I think they're actually still doing a lot of space stuff over there. So cool. I'm feeling silly now. It's second segment. It's Rabbi Jenny, and we are talking, if you just joined me, we are talking about releasing and dying in order to be reborn. We're using the imagery of rocket ships in outer space. We're talking about anything in faith, in scripture, in nature that reminds us that in order to go where we need to go, we have to let go and discard those things that don't belong or don't fit anymore. You know, when you grow up, you don't wear the same size shoes as you grew up. I mean, your sneakers will have holes in them. If you continue to wear them, your toes will push out. You know, you need to buy a new pair of shoes. Sometimes the new clothes or the new things in your life take the shape of a new job or new people around you or a new place to live. The difficulty, though, is unbelievable in releasing and dying to the old. You know, one of the hardest things to do is to move. This weekend I was with some girlfriends and we had to move a couch from one house to another. And it wasn't an easy thing, you know, and you say, well, why is that, such a big deal? But anybody that's ever moved their house, like had to pack up their entire house and move and then take all the stuff from one house to another and put it in the attic and put it out. And then what about the Meshuggahs putting it in storage and they don't have enough room in the house, so they buy storage houses for their stuff. You know, I think that, I don't know if it was George Carlin or somebody that did comedy routines on that years ago, but, finding a house for your stuff, But we are afraid because these things that feel so important to us, they're actually like giving us weight. They actually weigh us down, these ideas. And I love the imagery in scripture of the pyramids, because the Israelites actually build the pyramids for Pharaoh. So, of course, he doesn't want to let them go. They've actually built his buildings. I mean, they're important. They're keeping the structure of everything that the Pharaoh wants together, so he can't let them go. And if we look at it from a imagery perspective, we look at it from, looking at it from a metaphor perspective, the things that build us, make us the person that we are now, we don't want to let them go because we can't believe we'll be able to build without them. But the problem is a lot of these things are walls. A lot of these things are defensive. A lot of these things have weight, and they're actually keeping us from the things that are trying to get through. Where they're keeping us. Maybe they're ideas of lack. Maybe they're defensive. Maybe there's a lot of blame. There's a lot of anger. And those things give us weight. I mean, they've motivated us. They've lit our fire. But they're not gonna get you far. Because let me tell you, being a rabbi, you get a lot further when you love people. You get in there. when you really, really, really know how special they are, when you really understand that every human being is an actual unique creation of the divine, you're going to get a lot closer to them. You're going to effectively change the world on a massive level in your life, in your office, in your family, if you know that instead of knowing that there's something wrong. If you're telling somebody that something's wrong, nothing's getting in. Okay, you're not getting through the Earth's atmosphere with that. You got to let that one go. You kind of got to say, can I get through now? You know, I'm surrendering my ideas. I'm surrendering my blame. You know, when my dad passed away, the most amazing thing that happened was all the things between me and my mother, they weren't going to get us to the level we needed to get in our relationship to orbit. They weren't going to get us to where we needed to be as mother and daughter post-mortem of dad, you know, because I couldn't blame anymore. There wasn't time for that when you're making arrangements and moving things and grieving. It wasn't time. Suddenly the only thing was that refined view of how amazing life is that we spend with each other. The Buddhists have a really cool way that they call this detachment. The Buddhism view of death and rebirth is about attaching and detaching. That we attach to things and that causes our suffering. And by detaching and getting comfortable with detaching, we actually are free from suffering and experience the bliss of unlimited love and light, or the concepts of that they speak of. And then in shamanism, they have that same, in the indigenous cultures, they have that same idea of walking with death as a constant companion. And that may seem strange to you to think of it that way, but when you know that things are always changing, when you have that sacred knowledge that the only thing constant in life is death, is change, is release, if you know that, you can kind of master each moment of your life, because fear is not your master. The master is actually pushing through your life. And the Buddhist monks, they do this amazing thing. I wish I had the YouTube video link for you, but I highly recommend you, listeners, go find it. They do this thing. The Buddhist monks, they sit around and they blow these colored sands into these beautiful, detailed mandalas. These and they take hours, sometimes days and nights, blowing this refined, beautiful sand into these detailed paintings. And when they're done, they just blow it away. And they do that because it's not about keeping it. It's about the act of creation. You know, life is a constant flow. And if we're not in the flow, like if that rocket ship does not keep going, it is not going to get up there. And that's the truth of it. If it doesn't get to keep shooting up, it's going to fall back down. And I assume, I haven't watched any old videos. I mean, I was getting a little lost on the websites reading about the Saturn V. And anybody who's ever watched the space shuttle take off, it's the same image. You know, you watch it and you see those two tanks fall. You know, because it doesn't need them anymore. They're empty fuel tanks. They're actually false gods or false ideas that no longer have any fuel in them. They're empty of any value or any worth. And these are ideas that we've heard our whole life. I'm not sure what those ideas are for you, but I'm sure that they have something to do with power and where your real power is. Where is your real power in your life? Do you believe your real power comes from force? Because that's not real power. Real power doesn't come from force. Real power comes from love and knowing who you are and knowing your value and how truly valuable you are in your life. There's something going on for you, and I'm feeling it, whether it's in work or your personal life, and you're having to look at your relationships to power and what needs to go and what needs to stay. How are you asserting your power in the relationships? Is it going to get you where you need to go? I was in a unique situation in my place of employment today where something happened, and I have the blessing to be a spiritual leader at work, but I also have the equally fabulous, ridiculous blessing of being a human being on the planet. And so when things happen, I don't necessarily know how to act because my emotions take over, and And I can't always be who I want to be in that moment because I'm so sad or I'm so emotional. But the gifts that I know now is my real power isn't going to come from yelling and screaming, arguing and fighting. That's not going to do it. At this point, it's going to come from understanding and navigating and knowing that change is necessary, perhaps to get to a new view that I can't see yet. Now, when you're sitting in a rocket ship, listeners, are you in your car? Because this could be fun, but I want you to pay attention to the road. If you're in your car, if you're not, that's cool. But like if you're sitting looking up in the seat of a rocket ship, okay, and all you're doing is sitting on these fire boosters of fuel. I can't even imagine. I haven't been on mission to Mars at Epcot. It totally scares me. But if you're shooting off into space, you're only looking up or at your console at these little buttons or whatever. And so you're shooting up into outer space and you can't see what's coming, my friends. You can't see it. You know, so you got to hit let go to the engine. You got to hit let go to the engine. Those astronauts, they do not go. Emergency, we got to go. Rocket, you got to go. Engines, you got to go. Button, you got to go. And then they all of a sudden break through in, 11 minutes and 32 seconds or whatever I said. They look out and it's like, oh my God, if I only knew. If I only knew what was waiting, if I only knew the stars and planets that were waiting for me. And I know what you're saying, listeners. You're saying, Jenny, but we can't see. We can't see outer space. You're asking us to let go of things, and it's really, really hard because we can't see. Well, guys, that's what faith is for, and that's why you're listening to the Rabbi Jenny Show, so I can tell you how much God loves you and that it's going to be okay. And the urge to let go, you got to go against your old instinct to hold on, and you got to let it go, because what's waiting for you is outer space. What's waiting for you is a door you didn't see coming. You couldn't because you're so busy looking at the consoles. You're so busy firing off your engines that you can't see it. You can't see it yet. And faith requires just taking that opportunity to let go of things. My son, who's often a topic of discussion on my show, the poor little 12-year-old, he is changing schools next year. A school he's been to his whole life. Okay? And through the actions of his parents and our wisdom, it's time to go because there isn't enough there anymore. You know, it's not about the school being a bad school. It's a fantastic educational facility. It's that there's no space there. There's no planets. It's time. You know, it's just time. But he can't see it. So we who have been there have to tell him, you know, you can't even know what it's going to be like to be with 400 kids. You don't know what that's going to be like. You've only been with 30 kids. Can you imagine? You know, we have to be the view. So I have to be the view for you listeners. I have to tell you that you think that letting go of your blame is, what are you going to do without it if you let go of it? Well, I'm telling you, if you're so busy wasting time on blaming everyone else for the bad things in your life, you are not going to have any time to see the amazing thing that's coming around the corner. And I can tell you that when I let go of what I think is going to happen, I was talking about this with my producer, Freddie. I was saying when I let go of where this show or where my life or where my anything is going, I'm open. I'm open to the unlimited possibilities of the universe. I'm no longer putting walls up. I'm no longer building pyramids, and I'm walking free. And that requires time, that requires courage, and it requires faith. All things that I believe that you are capable of, my lovely listeners, my lovely love light cosmonauts. I am so excited to have a guest on. She's coming on in the next segment, and she is a beautiful Bad Mama Jamma. We're going to talk about this amazing event, and I'm donating the whole next segment to her. So join us in a few minutes. This is Rabbi Jenny. I adore you.
I just died on your arms tonight. It must have been something you said. I just died on your arms tonight.
Spent hours in therapy, at the spa, and the gym, and still feel as if something is missing? At Walk Between the Worlds with shamanic practitioner Jennifer Sellers, you recapture lost pieces of yourself, place them within your heart, and move forward to fully actualize life. With individual sessions and group classes, with Walk Between the Worlds, you heal your mind, unite your soul, and empower your spirit. Contact walkbetweentheworlds.com today. Mention this ad on The Rabbi Jenny Show and receive 10% off your first session. Walk free and whole and true at walkbetweentheworlds.com.
This program is brought to you by the law firm of Altman, Flynn, and Kugler. We practice elder law and intellectual property, including patents, trademarks, and copyrights. If you would like to patent your idea, please contact our Fort Lauderdale office for a free consultation. Call 954-563-4814. That's 954-563-4814. Or visit us online at altmanpatent.com. That's OLTMANPATENT.com. Spokesperson, not an attorney.
Do you know someone who is currently struggling with an addiction? The struggle is over. Dream Recovery International has the answer. With a combination of highly skilled clinicians, innovative treatment modalities, and luxurious amenities, Dream Recovery International has it all. Focusing on core issues, spiritual growth, and personal empowerment, clients of Dream Recovery International leave addiction behind and move forward to fully embrace life. For more information, go to dreamrecoveryintl.com or call 855-DREAM-80. Dream Recovery International, where addiction ends and recovery begins.
You have been listening to Rabbi Jenny, who asks, are you ready to bring more light and love and joy into your life? A spiritually uplifting show that will change your world. Call in at 888-565-1470 or email at rabbijenny.com and share your thoughts with Rabbi Jenny. Now, back to our show.
Hey, it's Rabbi Jenny. Happy Wednesday. We're talking about releasing and dying to be reborn, but we are donating this next segment to our Bad Mama Jamma. Rabbi Jenny. Bad in a good way. Our guest today is Manju Kaladindi. Yes, and she is an immigration attorney, and she is actually a founder of,
President. Current president.
Okay, president of Sahara of South Florida, and she is on today promoting an event, a Women in Interfaith Dialogue. First, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rabbi Jenny, for having me on.
Oh, absolutely. Tell us about Sahara. What is Sahara?
Sahara actually means Sahara. Sahara actually means support. In Urdu and Hindi. Those are two languages spoken in Pakistan and India, South Asia.
Okay.
It was founded in 2004 as a joint project of the Asian American Advisory Board and the Women's Fund of Miami to address the increasing number of referrals of South Asian women experiencing domestic violence.
And how did you get involved with Sahara?
Sahara. I got involved in it, I think, in 2005. Then I stepped away for about a year after my dad passed away, and then went back in around 2007. How did I get involved with domestic violence? Probably is your question.
Yes.
I remember when I first opened my firm, law firm, one of my first clients was a Indian woman. She was married to a gentleman. They came from two different faiths, and I believe he was abusing her.
Yes.
She was an immigrant. She did not have her green card. And in most cases like this, immigration is often a barrier. So the women put up with abuse because they're afraid of being deported. And that was her fear. If she was deported, she thought that her husband's family might take revenge on her. You know, if she went back home divorced. So we filed a case for her. It's called under the Violence Against Women Act.
Yes.
She got her green card. She's become a citizen. And that was my, beginning of my involvement with domestic violence victims.
And does Sahara provide legal, help for legal advice, or what do they do? Education?
We do quite a few things.
Okay,
First, we have a free helpline through which victims can access needed services, translation and interpretation services, referrals to domestic violence shelters, temporary housing, medical and legal referrals, as well as other needed services.
And if someone needs to get in touch with Sahara, how do they contact it? We'll probably mention this a couple times.
They could call our, excuse me, I need to get the number.
It's okay. I threw a loop. Oh, fancy
it's 1-866-567-7635. or you can email us at info.at.saharafl@gmail.com.
And I highly encourage the listeners, if you know of someone, or if you are interested in being involved with this or getting this to a friend of yours, that you can always watch this episode on YouTube or rabbijenny.tv to get that information. Again, we will announce it again before the segment's over.
Definitely.
So we're actually here promoting a annual event of Sahara.
First annual event. Yes.
Event, which I was so disappointed I couldn't be a part of. And it is the Women and Interfaith Dialogue. And it will be on Sunday, June 7th, from 4 to 6 p.m. at the South Florida Hindu Temple on Griffin Road. And the speakers are Reverend Diana Hutter, Divyananda Saraswati, Miss Rabia Khan, and Mrs. Bilo Jolly. And so tell us about these speakers and what the event's about.
The event basically has several reasons.
Okay.
Let me first address the interfaith part of it. Historically, religion has been seen as very contentious.
Yes.
Probably because we don't understand other people's religion.
Absolutely.
So this is a way of getting various speakers. Obviously, the first one is Christian, the second one is Hindu, third one of them is Muslim, and one is Sikh. And of course, you're not there.
I know. I'm going to be in Alaska. I'm so sorry, but I got your show. I can't get your show. I got your gig.
Yes, next year.
Yes,
absolutely. So we're trying to, being educated about each other's religions might facilitate understanding and respect for faiths other than our own. We might also learn that the basic tenets of any religion, major world religions, are basically the same.
Yes.
Love, compassion, peace. I don't think any religion is inherently superior or inferior.
No.
So through this, hopefully, that's interfaith dialogue, because there are many paths to God. And sometimes we may confuse a path as God himself or herself.
Absolutely. So how are you going to tie in the dialogue with women's issues? Is it going to be focused on how the faiths themselves have defined women historically, how that influences?
That's one part of it.
Okay.
Because as I said, but the search for meaning, for purpose, for community, the capacity to love has no gender. For those of us who believe in a soul or spirit, that soul or spirit also has no gender. That's what we were discussing earlier. Legal standards and social science seem to affirm the equality of all human beings, but discrimination against women is quite rampant out there in the world today.
Well, and we're used to having a little bit of a voice here.
Yes.
You're an attorney. I mean, like women in America, we take that for granted. There are a lot of places where women don't even have a voice.
Yes.
So
because in most countries, or in a lot of countries, women have no say in who they get married to.
Yes.
That's slowly going away. In some countries, they have no right to inherit or divorce. And in our own country here, no equal right to pay. So there's still certain causes that we need to work on, Rabbi.
Well, we could do a whole, you're coming back for that one. No equal right to pay. It's so true.
It is.
And you don't even think about it. You just kind of go asleep. So I'm looking at the agenda, and this is such a great event. Now, is it open to the public?
Yes, of course it is. It's free. It's open.
Okay, so if you're curious, I would highly recommend the listeners come for curiosity, if you're passionate about women's issues, or if you're curious about different faiths and you're on a spiritual path and you're trying to, because the discussion is going to center around different topics. I want to read, it's going to talk about citing scriptures and different holy works and the roles of women in those, how they look at justice and gender, how each faith looks at different things. And it can be very inspiring, having participated in interfaith events, to just see a bunch of women together.
That's the difference, because I don't think there are enough of these events going on. You have participated in interfaith dialogue, but that usually includes men too.
Yes.
I'm not saying we don't want men there, because women, are part of men's lives. So we would welcome men too.
Well, and eventually it does have to go to educating the men, because everybody's got to get on board.
It takes a village, as I say.
Absolutely. So tell me another Sahara story from your own practice, from your own involvement with the organization.
Do you want through my practice?
Yes. Yes.
Well, I have represented quite a few women through legal aid of Broward County.
Okay.
Russians, South Americans, the Caribbean. I think one case I really stands out in my memory is a lady that we've helped through Sahara. She was kicked out with a 1-month-old baby.
Oh, my goodness.
She ended up in Women in Distress, and they contacted us. And we do work with one of our partners, is called the Noor Center, which provides temporary housing for these women.
Wonderful.
So we brought, she stayed there on and off for a while. The baby is now 2 years old. The lady has gone to English classes. She found a job, and she's slowly empowered herself. She got divorced. She obtained her green card. That's a success story.
Absolutely. I'm amazed at having been a nonprofit before, I'm amazed at the speed of them contacting you,
right.
and that
within
Sahara,
2 years. This happened probably within 2 years.
Yeah, but just that the dialogue is happening between all the organizations,
Right.
that you're known. Like Sahara, I have never heard of you until you emailed me.
Right.
And yet you're getting the attention of the organizations that need you, which I always love to hear, because the communication in between nonprofits and what we do is the hardest thing sometimes, because everybody doesn't do the same thing. So so tell us more about the mission, what you're seeing for the future. If listeners want to donate to Sahara, what is the vision of where we want to go with this?
Well, right now we operate, there are 10 board members. We do pro bono, and we have 1 part-time advocate. The need is much, but because of the lack of funds, we had to put her on part-time.
Okay, is this a fundraiser? Is there a...
This is not a fundraiser. Our annual fundraiser is in October, because it's Domestic Violence Month.
Okay.
And through that fundraiser, we raise funds for the next year's operations.
Okay. All right. So tell us about the guest speakers. We have a Reverend Diana Hutter. Do we know? Tell me about her.
I believe she works for Vitas.
Yes.
She used to, for their hospice. Devyanand Saraswati, she's a Hindu lady. Mm-hmm. She's the founder of there is a mandir ashram in Devi.
Oh, wonderful.
Right. And Mrs. Bilojali is a Sikh from Homestead.
Wow.
Yes. And Miss Rabia Khan is Muslim from, I think, Sunrise.
And did these women get involved with Sahara? Is that how you got to know them, or were they?
Mrs. Bilojali is one of our board members.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes. The rest, no, we reached out to them to come and speak and participate in our event.
If anyone's listening that needs you, like, what can you tell them? Like, what is the steps that they first need to take
in terms of
being heard? I mean, if somebody's in a situation where, as a woman, they're not feeling heard, like, is there support? Is there a way to contact someone before? Like, maybe it's not so much an immigration issue. Maybe it's simply they're not even sure if they're having issues. Women, we're not always sure that there's a problem.
No.
We can be in a system that we don't even know. I mean, is there something attached to your organization? Is there more reading materials on the rights of women?
I wish we had more, but like I said, we are grassroots. Mm-hmm. So we really are trying to build right now.
And tell us about your law practice.
What
do you do? We got to know you a little bit. Come on,
I do mostly business, immigration, and family.
Okay.
I'm not into deportation or asylum because that's a bit too stressful for me.
And how long have you been practicing?
I've been doing it since 1997, almost 20 years.
Wow.
Since I opened my practice.
So what I wanted to ask you, and the last question before we announce the event one more time for our listeners, is you were listening about releasing and letting go in your life. What did it bring up for you personally? I love to personalize things.
I think dogmatic beliefs.
Yes. Like what?
Like what? In Hinduism,
yes.
There's one where it says when women are menstruating, they're not supposed to go to the temple because it's not considered clean. Some of the temples here are quite visionary. They're trying to overcome that dogma. I was just having this conversation with somebody from the temple actually the other day.
Wow.
And maybe it came into being 100 years ago when life was not this simple.
Right.
And women needed the rest. So they set aside that 5 days.
Yeah, and it might have not been, like, there might have not been, like, maxi pads. Like, I don't mean to, like, get simple like that, but,
right,
ways
exactly.
to cope.
So they needed their rest
Right.
for those 3 or 4 or 5 days.
Right.
But that doesn't hold true anymore.
Absolutely. And how can we let that go and get into outer space? Because if the women aren't in the temple.
Well, that's changing, as I said.
Right.
People are slowly realizing that these truths or dogmas no longer hold true.
And once we get out there, we're all there together, all day, every day, working together, no matter what.
For the advancement of all, actually, not just women.
Absolutely.
The advancement of society.
So let's announce it one more time. This is Sahara of South Florida. They're having a Women in Interfaith Dialogue on Sunday, June 7th from 4 to 6 p.m. The website,
saharafl.org.
And I want to thank Manju Kalandindi for coming on the Rabbi Jenny Show today and talking to us about this event. I want to encourage you all to go to the website of Sahara and donate, because the women need you. We need to build these movements and release those old ideas. We'll be right back. It's Rabbi Jenny. Spent hours in therapy, at the spa, and the gym, and still feel as if something is missing? At Walk Between the Worlds with shamanic practitioner Jennifer Sellers, you recapture lost pieces of yourself, place them within your heart, and move forward to fully actualize life. With individual sessions and group classes, with Walk Between the Worlds, you heal your mind, unite your soul, and empower your spirit. Contact walkbetweentheworlds.com today. Mention this ad on the Rabbi Jenny Show and receive 10% off your first session. Walk free and whole and true at walkbetweentheworlds.com.
Times are tough, and right now those in the commercial world know that being heard via advertisements is the name of the game. AmpSquare.tv understands how important advertisement is and is proud to express that it's truly the only plugged-in internet television production company on the market. Amp2.tv live streams all their shows across all the major selling markets in the U.S. and abroad. Call them at 866-224-5422. The AmpSquare.tv library allows productions to be seen over and over again, making commercial platforms more usable. Call 866-224-5422. Toll free 866-224-5422. Amp2.tv, the first and only internet television network that's truly plugged in. 866-224-5422. That's AMP2.TV.
Do you know someone who is currently struggling with an addiction? The struggle is over. Dream Recovery International has the answer. With a combination of highly skilled clinicians, innovative treatment modalities, and luxurious amenities, Dream Recovery International has it all. Focusing on core issues, spiritual growth, and personal empowerment, clients of Dream Recovery International leave addiction behind and move forward to fully embrace life. For more information, go to dreamrecoveryintl.com or call 855-DREAM-80. Dream Recovery International, where addiction ends and recovery begins.
You have been listening to Rabbi Jenny, who asks, are you ready to bring more light and love and joy into your life? A spiritually uplifting show that will change your world. Call in at 888-565-1470 or email at rabbijenny.com and share your thoughts with Rabbi Jenny. Now, back to our show.
Oh my God, I can't believe it's almost over. We're in our last segment of the Rabbi Jenny Show this week, and I'm going to miss you. I'm going away. And it's going to be a greatest hits next week with my sister Amy, so please tune in next Wednesday. We are actually discussing releasing, letting go, and being reborn. And we had a beautiful guest today. But it's time. I think it's time. Blake, it's time. It's time for the Ridiculous Joy Jar contest.
Joy, 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 joy. It's Adeline Gobergstein, and it's time for the Rabbi Jenny Ridiculous Joy Jar Challenge.
And who's our caller today? Hello?
You are calling Kimberly Smart.
Kimberly Smart. Tell me about you, Kimberly Smart. Who are you? What do you do?
What I do, I'm an artist. I'm an actress too. I love doing art for people. You know, I think art is beautiful.
Do you know about the Ridiculous Joy Jar Challenge?
What'd you say?
Do you know about the challenge that you're going to do on the radio today?
Yes.
You know that you are going to name 10 things that you're ridiculously joyful for?
Yes.
All right, you ready to do it?
Yes.
All right, Kimberly, on your mark, get set, go.
Love art, be on time, meeting people, my father, my mother, family, friends, doing business with people, travel, and I love working and living. I love working and doing what I love. That's it.
You got one more. You got one more. Come on, dig deep, girl.
I love money.
Oh, okay. I got it. Ridiculous joy for the cash. The Benjamins. Yes, yes, yes. So, Kimberly, you get to promote something on the Rabbi Jenny Show because you completed the Joy Jar Challenge. What would you like to promote today?
I like to promote my new show.
Okay.
New radio show. And the name of the radio show called the Studio 3000 Art Show.
Cool. And what do you do on the Studio Art Show 3000 radio show?
What I do, I talk about myself, then I showcase my artwork, and I also like to, I will be interviewing other artists too as well.
Oh, that sounds amazing. And when?
Yeah, talk about what they do and stuff.
When is your show on, Kimberly?
It will be on Saturdays.
What time?
5:45.
Okay, Saturday at 5:45, and is it on this channel?
Yes.
Oh my God, it's a co-host. This is a rigged Joy Jar Challenge. It is Kimberly Smart. I've got to tune in now. It's 14:70 a.m. for our listeners. It's Kimberly Smart. She's going to be doing Art 3000. Please tune in on Saturday. What's tomorrow? Saturday. Yeah, Saturday at 5:45.
Tomorrow's Thursday.
Yeah, tomorrow's Thursday. I'm in another land. So, Kimberly, say goodbye to the listeners and promote one more time. Tell them where they can find you.
Oh man, they can find me on air. on the
Oh my Lord, I love this. I love what I do. Okay. All right, Kimberly, well, we will tune in. Thank you for calling in.
All right.
Bye-bye. Oh, that was fun.
Bye.
Bye. Whoa. That was awesome. You know artists, man. They're always, she's probably creating something as she's talking to me. Lord. So we are talking about releasing and letting go, and I actually wanted to talk about a friend of mine before we do. How much time we got? 5. Okay, so just a couple of seconds to talk to you about the 2 main Rabbi Jenny ideas and how they connect with releasing and letting go. And then I'm going to jam for you because it's just about that time. And the first Rabbi Jenny idea is that the world is happening for you and not to you. Absolutely 100% all the time it is happening for you and not to you, but you won't see it if you're holding on to old stuff. And the second main Rabbi Jenny idea is that you are divine light and love energy. And that divine light and love energy is always trying to expand, and it cannot expand if you don't release and let go. So it may get you some contractions like childbirth. You may fight it a little bit, but eventually that baby is coming out and things have to be born. Let's do the jam. Yeah. We ready?
Yo, 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 jam, jam, Rabbi Jenny jam, jam.
We're going to get deep today. To live you must die over and over and over and over again. Holding on so tight, my loves, waiting for a sign. Can't let go of that fight, my loves. Won't believe it's time. You think it makes you all you are, the filler of the whole. Thank you for bringing me this far, but now I must let go. Sing with me, yeah. Release, let go, be born. Release, let go, be born. To live you must die over and over and over and over again. That shirt you wear's got holes and tears. Your shoes are way too small. You cannot see those passing years. In fact, you cannot see at all. A bigger soul and brighter eyes commands a newer plan. Lessons learned a bit more wise. Reborn a brand new man. go, be born. Release, let go, be born. Come on, listeners. Release, let go, be born. To live you must die, over and over and over and over again. And I just realized that's pretty heavy, you know. Whoa, that was a little heavy. But I'm trying to get a little less funky on the jams and getting into a little sing-songy, you know. Maybe you'll like drive through the week and go, release, let go, be born, and I'll inspire you when you're like really, really angry about something to go, wait a minute, maybe it's just not that important, and maybe wasting time on this thing I'm angry about is actually keeping me from something fabulous. I want to donate or dedicate the last few moments of my show to my friend Laura. My friend Laura is one of my sacred sisters, and she actually lost her daughter, Carrie, very suddenly, a very young woman full of life. And it's really hard to let go. But I wanted to honor Carrie today because Carrie donated her organs. And I don't really have an opinion on that too much in my own dogma or anything. But I can tell you that the piece of where those things were going, and the people and the place that those things are going to help, I believe there was a heart, I believe there was a kidney, perhaps a liver, and the lives that will continue on, the outer space, the space that was made by letting go, the life that was continued by letting go. What this spirit did in that moment of transformation was absolutely breathtaking to me. And to watch my sacred friend go through that was absolutely, so I honor Carrie. I ask us all to honor her and who she is, and the idea of releasing, that we have to let go of our old ideas. Remember that you are absolutely fantastic, listeners, and that anything that you're holding on to or anything that you became aware about in the last 60 minutes with Rabbi Jenny has got to go. And you know what you can do? You can go to rabbijenny.tv and email me if you think that that's a hard thing. You call me up. Next time I'm on here, when I get back from Alaska in 2 weeks, we're going to start calling into the Rabbi Jenny show. And you're going to say, Rabbi Jenny, I can't let go of that. And I'm going to help you. Because you would not believe the stuff I've had to let go of. So let me help you next time. So tune in to the Rabbi Jenny Show every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. I absolutely love you. Release, let go, be born, you divine love-like cosmonauts. Take care.
You have been listening and lighting up your life with Rabbi Jenny. Join us next week for another session of love, light, and joy as Rabbi Jenny takes life to the next level. Are you ready? Rabbi Jenny says the time is now.
The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station.